All right. Last one. This is it. I won't say it's the hardest one, but it is one that you're going to have to pay attention to all the way through. And there's a fork in the road, and it depends on how you got last week's assignment done. Anyway, what we're after is the same thing we were after 2 weeks ago on Windows. WordPress on Windows, but a little more hands-on, right? So we're going to do the second half. We installed LAMP last week. Well, what was it? It was just PHP and MySQL last week. So this week, we're just going to install WordPress on top. Sounds easy enough, but there's a few things that you got to do before you get to that point. So click this link. We'll take you here. There's a big reason why I wanted to use 1804. Not a lot's changed since April of 2018. So lucky for us, these instructions didn't change either. There's nothing to do new. Nothing just changes in the middle of one of these installations. So notice I'm already logged into my Ubuntu server. Made sure I had internet, because you're going to need it. You got to install some packages. And we're just going to start with, well, let's do a quick overview what we're going to do. So step one, we're just going to create a MySQL database. So everything you do in WordPress, every picture you upload, every letter that you type, everything that you save, all of it lives in a database. So we have to create a database. We can name it whatever we want to, but in this lab we'll do WordPress. I mean, you can name it anything. It does not matter. This word, this highlighted bit, can be changed to anything that you want. We got to create a user to own it. We're going to do that here. Give him a password. And that is the password. So you got to be careful with that. Like if you type in the literal word password, it is the literal word password is your password. So be careful with that. Yeah, save your changes, exit MySQL. You're going to install some PHP extensions. Right? Those things, these are the ones that are minimally required. You can install more. There are more things that WordPress can do outside of these packages, but like curl. This is the way that WordPress will try and download things. Zip. This is how you can upload a zip folder, or that WordPress can compress things. You got to adjust some configurations. Here's the fork in the road. This is what I was talking about. If you did var www WordPress last lab, you have to follow this exactly the way that it's written. If you did not, then you have to adjust as necessary, right? Your var www HTML. So you cannot do it exactly the way that they've got it written. But if you did var www HTML, it's actually a little easier because it's already configured for you. It's already ready to do HTML. We'll come into this file and check it, but it should already be ready. Let me see. Yeah, so it's right. Okay, so sites available will be 00 default if you didn't change anything, but you'll need to create one if you did that. Oh, what do they call it? What do they call it? Virtual host. Virtual host. If you did the virtual host thing, you'll have this file. But if you didn't, you won't. All right. And that's what they're saying. You'll need to make sure that that's that if you did the virtual host thing. Still need to do, once you make that change right there, you'll test it, and then you'll restart Apache. So here's the thing. If you did the virtual host thing, you'll need to do step 3. If you didn't, you can skip it, but you still need to check this file to make sure that it's pointing at the right spot, which it probably already is. All right, then you go out and get WordPress. Do that with curl. It will download this file. You'll unzip it. You'll create a file named .htaccess. Copy the sample config to this file. That way you have a starting point. You can just edit stuff. Oh yeah, you actually need this. This upgrade folder is, you're basically going to give this to WordPress so that it can use as an upgrade path, right? So if it needs to download files and put it somewhere, this is where it's going to put it. It's where it expects to be able to put it. So if you don't have that created, and WordPress doesn't have permissions to create stuff, which I don't think it does. No, it does. It definitely does, but it may not have in this particular area. So anyway, you just make this that way you have it. Let me see. Oh yeah, copy everything from your temporary spot to now this again, var www.html in this spot. You've got to be careful with this. If you did WordPress, leave it alone. If you did not in that virtual host area, then it's going to be HTML for you. Same with this. You're basically changing the ownership, giving WordPress, who is acting as Apache, and Apache's user is this, www.data. You're giving the WordPress directory or the HTML directory in, those of you that didn't do the virtual host thing, that'll say HTML. You're giving Apache permission to that directory so that it can read and write into it. Same here. A little more granular on the permissions, though. Basically, what you're saying is D for directories. So find in this directory, and again, HTML for those of you that did not do the virtual hosting. Type is directory. You want to run the command chmod 750 everything here. And that just closes it out. So basically what you're saying is every directory here should have these permissions. And then, as you might have guessed, if it's a file, everything here should have these permissions. Then this should look familiar. Download your salt. These are all those keys, right? So in the file, it will say this. It will actually have the do not copy these values or whatever. So what you're going to do is you're going to delete everything between the quotes and then paste in your stuff. So that's where that stuff lives. But again, it'll be in HTML, not in WordPress, if you did not do the virtual host thing. I keep saying that because I guarantee you, if you just read these and just slap these commands in without paying attention, you're going to run into this. And you're going to be like, I don't have that directory. And I'm going to be like, I know. So anyway, these are just examples, right? That's what it'll have. You'll paste your stuff in there. This is where a secondary command will come in, or a secondary terminal will come in handy. Also in that file, way at the back, step 1, you created a database. Got to put that name in here. You created a user, you put that name in here. You created that user's password, you put that password in here. And then you got to make sure that, I think it's already in there, but if not, you will verify that this is exactly correct. FS method is direct. And that's it. Look, once you're done with that, this looks just like Windows. You go to its domain name, and then you run through this, right? Which looks similar. You didn't go through some of this, but that it should look familiar. Anyway, what you're doing is setting your site name, all that kind of fun stuff, and then it'll drop you into the WordPress area. All right. So I did that because I needed to tell you about the whole WordPress HTML thing, and I needed to drill it into your head because I guarantee you someone's going to do it. Yeah, so before we actually got into actually doing it, I needed to say it a million times. Okay. So here's the deal. Log in and then do this command. So MySQL u root -p. So what this is doing is saying I want to log into MySQL as root, and I want to present a password for that, but I don't want to give you the password. And when you do that, it will just say, all right, give me your password. What is my password? Oh, there it is. Okay. All right. So now that you're in MySQL, shown by the prompt, you can move on to the next thing, which is creating a database. Name it what you want, and then it's setting the default character set to UTF-8. Collate is an option to present the information within the database, and you're saying UTF-8 Unicode CI. So basically, everything after default is basically I want it in English in standard characters, ASCII, and all that fun stuff, right? Just the formatting of your database, and this is very standard. Let me see if I can get that, because I need to type it in just right. All right, so create. create. And be wary of typos. There's quite a good chance that I'm going to typo throughout here. So if anybody watching right now sees a typo, just yell at me. TF8. Don't forget your semicolons. Every single database statement ends in a semicolon. If you forget it, it's going to be like, here's another prompt, finish it out. And so you can just type a semicolon in that, and it will work. You know what I can do? To prevent that from happening, no. Wow. Thanks, Yahoo. No. Oh no, that is the right one. Okay, I'm just crazy. Yeah, okay. Oh, picture's not loading. Oh well. MySQL root. Yep, this is the same thing. Cool. So what I will do is I'll just use it all here. This way, I can make it easy on myself and I can copy and paste. Okay, so I got that done. I actually don't know if I can copy and paste the MySQL stuff. We'll find out. Will I break it? Possibly. You sure can. All right. So here's the thing, though. When you copy and paste this, just verify that everything is the way that you expect it to be. Everything is what you want. If you want the WordPress database to be called... Oh, wait. Right. If you want the WordPress database to be called WordPress and you copy paste that in there, then that's fine. Then okay. Then you're good. But do actually read this. I'm telling you, if you just go in there and copy and paste and make it work and not know how it's coming together, then the first error you get, you're going to throw your hands up and not know what to do. So take it slow. Even though you can copy and paste, take it slow. Read your commands and try and understand what they're trying to do. And if you do not understand them, just ask. I'll help you understand them. All right. So again, grant all on this database that we just created and any of its sub bits. Grant all those, everything, all the permissions to the WordPress user that we just created at localhost. So if it was a remote database or something like that, we could have put the remote name, but database is right here on the Ubuntu server, so we don't have to worry about it. It is localhost. Identified by password, so just the password. I'm going to leave it like that, but yeah, if you were doing this in real life, that would be a not that password. Uh-oh. Oh, it can't be that password because we set a password policy. So, yeah. And then please, read your error messages, right? Don't just throw your hands up. Read it. Because it tells you, literally, exactly, why it broke. So your password does not satisfy. Oh, pfft. So I'm going to bring out old Trusty. Right? That should satisfy it. Yep. Sure enough. Then you want flush privileges. So again, this is to basically reset any user's privileges that may have changed. So basically, we created a user and we gave it permissions. It won't go into effect until you do this. It basically says, reread the permissions sheet so you know what I'm talking about. If you do not do that, your permissions will not be saved. This is like write mem in Cisco, right? Or copy run start. That's flush privileges. Not exactly, but yeah, same idea. Okay, sudo apt update. Yep, yeah. We want to install all these packages, right? The cool thing about apt is that you are able to just chain those packages. You know, if you know the names of them, just one after another, after another, after another. Easy enough. So, sudo apt install that one, 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 and that one. That's pretty much it. Let it do its thing. And because there are new PHP packages which touch Apache and MySQL, you'll need to restart Apache after all this. Just as a reminder, because Linux Mint and Ubuntu are on the same package base, meaning these commands will work on either if you've done them all in one. Just as a quick reminder, I am not in Mint in this terminal. I am in the Ubuntu server. Oop. Everything you select gets copied to your clipboard, so I keep doing that. Oh man. Copy, please. Okay, it's just not gonna. It's not okay. You're just not gonna do that. All right. Cool. All right. So here again, here is the crossroads. Just go here, right here. See if it's gonna give me that. Like, will it let me? There. Okay. I don't know why it wasn't copying the stuff before. Anyway, so we go in there. Look what we have. If you have the WordPress one, because you went through that step, make sure you're using WordPress throughout this lab. If you do not have the WordPress one, you have this one, because you did not go through that step in the previous lab, then you will be using this file anytime that it references Apache 2 sites available. And the counterpart to that is, if you do have the WordPress.conf, then you're putting your files and stuff in var www WordPress. If you do not, if you have this file, you are putting your files in var www HTML. Right? Just keep that in mind. This is where all the students trip up. This is exactly where it is. So be aware. And there's a note. It reminds you. If you're using this file, then you'll be using this directory. Don't forget it. Don't forget it. Okay. So what this is telling you to do, right? We get to skip a lot of this if you didn't do the WordPress thing. If WordPress is going to be the only site on your entire machine, right? It's telling you that you need to make sure the virtual host stuff is in the allow override. This is actually the same stuff in that step in the previous lab, though. You need to make sure that you have the rewrite module. But we need to do this anyway. I just need to make sure that rewrite is in there. 2en mod. Yeah, check that out. It says enabling. I'm just going to assume. Sudo apache 2 ctl config test. Basically, this is just asking it, you know, is everything cool? Syntax okay. Yeah, actually, it even explains it down here. It's going to annoy you here. Just because, for some reason, in Etsy hosts, your name might not be in there. No, mine is. Oh, probably because it's not a fully qualified domain name. That's probably what it is. So anyway, you can safely ignore this. It's not actually an error message, but it's just telling you, hey, you need to be careful. you can safely ignore that. If you want to fix it, you go in here, apache2.conf. Let me see. So let's see. It's a big file. Oh, did I pass it? No. Oh, I may have passed it. And it was saying change server name. Just add server name directive to your main global Apache configuration file. Oh, I think it may be asking you to just write it in there. Yeah, I think it's wanting us to put it up here somewhere. Anyway, because it's not going to stop you. I'm not going to require it. But yeah, the only server that comes up is server root. So we just need to write it in that file. So if you want to suppress that message, come up above the directory stuff. You don't even have to do that. But I would say put a hash mark here. Say this is to suppress 127.0.0.1 or 0.1.1 error message, whatever. I mean, you just copy and paste that in there, you know. Copy paste that in there. And then put server name equals the way that it... Oops. Oh, my gosh. the weird stuff. Oh, yeah, you don't even need equals. It's just server name, and then in my case, it'd be ubuserve. No equals or anything like that. So, or you could just write it. But again, comments are really good. If you go back in there and check it, it will make sense to you because you explained it to yourself. Thanks, past me. That's the idea. And sudo system control restart Apache. Okay. So long story short, the only thing I actually did was this. This didn't actually do anything. It just tested my configuration, and then I restarted Apache. That's pretty much it. But again, if you did the WordPress stuff, that step, then you need to make sure that your virtual host is set. Par WordPress. You saw that in the cat as I was looking for those options. Okay, now it's time to get WordPress. Let's do it. So go into the temp directory. So basically what we're doing is we're just kind of playing it safe. So you're coming into temp. There's junk in there. No big deal. You are downloading the WordPress file here. Now temp gets cleared out every now and then. So and by every now and then, it's either after a reboot or after files are a couple days old, stuff like that. So I mean, it's not going to delete it from under you or anything. But if you come back to this 5 days later and the files aren't there, you'll know why. Temp does get cleared out sometimes. So. And that's okay because, you know, if you go through the whole lab, the files won't live here anymore. So you'll be good. All right, so curl, this basically says just download it and then this file. And WordPress always names the latest version latest.tar.gz. So if you just run this periodically, you'll get the newest version. All right, so 11-ish megs. And then what it says is unzip it all, xzvf. So tar xzvf. Oh, not latest. Right? It inflates all of that, and then we should have a WordPress directory now. So they're just doing stuff from one spot, which is fine. You can also go into cd temp WordPress and then do touch htaccess, but well, let's go ahead and do that. And so we're creating a .htaccess file. .htaccess. Cool. So what we want to do now is create another new file. If you notice, there is no WP config file. If it exists, it would be right here. So what we're doing is, if you look at this WP sample or config sample file, it's got a bunch of stuff in it. I mean, let's just, there we go. So it's at the top of the file. Notice it's a PHP file, right? And just a bunch of stuff, right? So this is where we want to come in here and say, here's this information, here's this information, here's this information, right? But this file is still, oh, there's the salt stuff that we need to deal with. Pretty much everything else we'll leave as default. But that's the deal, right? So this has got our starting point. So what we're going to do is copy config sample to wp config.php. Right? Saying, give me all that junk, give me that sample file. I'm going to dump it all into this file, but now, didn't exist before, should exist now. And, oop. Oh, actually, yeah, because we're in temp, I own it all. All right, so now that we have that file, we'll need to create a directory for WP content upgrade. So we need to create that directory structure. And I'm just doing it step by step. I mean, so you see piece by piece how it works. Because a lot of these commands do a lot of stuff in one go. I want to show you that there are steps to it. So, I mean, you can do it one way or the other. So, creating a WP content directory in my WordPress directory. Oh, it does already exist. Yeah, sure enough. So, in WP content, I want to make dir upgrades with an S. Nope, just upgrade without an S. There we go. Now that we're ready, so basically we just did a couple of things. We made this file, copied a sample config to wp-config.php, created the upgrade directory, and now what we're going to do is copy everything from inside the WordPress directory, right? That's what that dot means. Otherwise, if you didn't have that dot, it would move the whole folder. You don't want the whole folder, you just want the stuff inside. So that dot is important. To var www, and again, you're at the crossroads. If you did the virtual host thing, you type WordPress. If you did not, you type HTML. So, sudo co. Actually, I can do it from here. So, it doesn't matter where you are at this point, honestly. I'll just go somewhere else. That way, it makes a little more sense. Oops. A temp WordPress. The stuff inside to var HTML, right? And double check that. Just double check your commands. And you will need sudo here because you don't own this directory. Root does. Okay. And I would say go one step further and check it. You should see all that same stuff that you saw here. And we do. And you'll see your old stuff too. Right? If you left your web practice stuff inside of here, you're going to see that too. Index.html, index.html.backup, and index.php. Those are the things that I made the other day. Yeah, look at that. July 21st. February 6th? No, that's the WordPress one. That must be the WordPress one then. Oh, yeah, because I didn't create an index.php. I created an info.php. And that one is gone. So anyway, just by date you can see. All right. Now we need to do some permission stuff, right? So we want to change the ownership, because right now it looks like Leo owned some of it. Yeah, actually Leo owned all of it, except for that file, which doesn't matter. So we want to change all of the ownership to www data. So we'll do that. But, oop. So these commands are meant to be run from anywhere. So again, I'm going to go to my home folder, Didn't do HTML. So, right, sudo chown, change ownership of the directory and everything inside of it. User should be, group owner should be, and then here's the folder that I want you to do all this stuff to. Okay. Let's do lsl var www.html. And right, so it was Leo. Now we should be seeing www data. There it is. Right? User owner, group owner. These are the permissions that will apply. User owner, group owner, everybody else. We're not too worried about that. So long as everybody else doesn't have right, we're good. But these allow WordPress to do its magic. So if you don't have at least the owner or the group owner having right access, WordPress is going to start giving you errors. Anyway, but even further, we want to say sudo find, right, again, in that directory, all the directories, change them, or run this command, change their permissions to 750, and then close that script and be done with it. But don't just press enter. Make sure you're talking about the right directory. Otherwise, it'll be like, I don't know what you're talking about. And you're going to be like, hey, I'm done. And then you will not be. And then you will ask me, and I'm like, so? Be careful. Right? Now, a lot of that's not actually going to change a whole lot, except, right? Remember permission, 750. What is 750? Read, write, execute. Read, execute. Nothing. So since we're just talking about directories, right? Read, write, execute, that won't change, but these on the back end will. And then same thing, but with files. And we're just doing the exact same thing, except without execute. But again, change your directory. Yeah, okay. Oh, take a look at that. Because I don't own any of it. I can't even see it. So if you do any of that, you've got to make sure you do it. Let me just do it for real. Right? Regular folks cannot see stuff anymore. And that includes me, because I don't own any of it in any way. So I am part of this other group now. And this other group has nothing at all on these directories. So I can no longer do stuff without providing root credentials somehow. Okay. Setting up WordPress configuration. So this is we're on the home stretch now. If you got to this point, you're almost done. Almost done. So let's go get our salt. I'm going to do this in a separate terminal. That way I'll be able to copy and paste. So there's our salt. Make that bigger so it is easier to copy and paste. Okay, and then we need to go to right, but HTML again, var HTML wconfig. So, oh, actually, we're going to do that. Sudo nano var HTML. Oh yeah, and you will not be able to tab it out because you don't have permission to see inside that directory, so you don't know. You have to type everything out manually at this point. Okay. Well, okay. I'm already to the define part, so let me go further down and do the salt part. All right. All right. So now's the little tedious part. Get your junk. Copy that. Okay, so it looks like it broke, but it didn't. So yeah, the stuff is so long. Here, actually, let me just make this longer. That will. There. All right. Because when you do that, it runs off the page, and so there's a little $sign out there, and that basically just says, there's more. See, if you look up here, there's more over there. All right. Same thing with the next one. Get the next one. Actually, as a matter of fact, I don't have to do that manually. If you just delete all of this and then paste all of that in, that will work. Syntax is a little different. There's spacing there, but it should be fine. Yep, that should be fine, but I'll do it manually. No big deal. Honestly, if you do it manually, you're adding more human error to the mix. So if you're doing it manually, make sure that you double check everything. See, things like that. If you don't notice, you got rid of that quote. It could possibly break you. So what I'm gonna do, if for some reason it's throwing me errors on these keys, I'm just gonna come back in here and just copy paste the whole chunk. Almost there, almost there. Okay. Cool. So I'm going to leave this up just in case I need it again. But that should do it for all of my keys. So we did all that. Okay. Now we're here. WordPress user password. We need to go add that in. I think all of my stuff is the same except this one because it wouldn't let me use the word password. Which is for the best. It's for the best. So just verify which ones you're doing. And it's just those top three. But make sure, right? DB name, DB user, DB password. Is that what we're talking about? Yes. DB name, DB user, DB password. Verify, because they all kind of look the same. So my DB name was WordPress. My DB user was WordPress user. Pretty sure. My DB password was not password, it was password. All right, I just want to make sure up at that very top thing that is what that was. Yeah, WordPress user, okay. Okay. Then we need to make sure that this line is in there. So let's scroll down, scroll down. So we're just going to type it in just like that. I mean, as a matter of fact, we can just copy and paste it. But if it's already in there, you want to edit it. But it's not. So add a little space. Define fs method, direct. Now write all that. Yeah. So yeah, right. So you need to, this explains what the fs direct thing is. Okay. That should work. All right, guys. Moment of truth. Moment of truth. Did I break it? Probably. Yeah, in the dir.conf, right? File. Pretty sure index.php was moved up front in the last one. But we'll see. Oh, there's supposed to be pictures there. I don't know why the pictures are not showing up. Let's see. Hooray! I have managed to not break it. Cool. Choose your language. Name it whatever site. Create yourself a WordPress user. Oh, how about very weak? Because why not? Yes, yes. I want to use a weak password. And then you'll, whatever email you want. This is basically just to email you stuff. I don't even know that you have to do that, but I'm going to do it. And then this is, I mean, if you put it on the real internet, it's not, so you don't have to worry about this. But if you do put a WordPress site on the real internet, you can. It's not going to do anything because Google don't care. But this is basically to say, hey, Google, don't index me and don't show me up in searches and all that kind of fun stuff, right? Right? It's up to the search engine to honor this request, right? They don't care. They're going to do it. If they want to do it, they're going to do it. But, yeah, I was going to say, keep that in mind because that is important. There you go. So here's the thing. The reason it works like the reason it works in Linux. Yep, see? That's how it's supposed to look. The reason it works in Linux is because you did the configuration. As long as you do the configuration from your hostname, then anytime you access it via your hostname, it will look right. Because that configuration in settings, right? However you accessed it to set it up, that's how it's going to expect people to access it to see it. So it just that part just works in Linux. There's a bit of manual stuff in Linux to deal with, but this is not one of them. Remember, in Windows, you had to go back in and fix this because it had your IP address in there in the first place, right? So at this point, it's the same deal, right? Post, all posts, add a new one, blah, 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 save it, and then just take a screenshot of that. That's the whole idea, right? So I'll let you guys take it from there. Let me make sure I hit all the highlights. But I think I did. And by some stroke of magic, it worked. All right, so, yep, log in over SSH just like I was doing. Use that documentation just like I was. Make sure, oh yeah, do the, before completing step 1, take a screenshot after flush privileges. I want to see the commands that you did. But don't exit yet. And then once you get your screenshot, you can exit. Right? And I'm reminding you. Yeah, instead of their stated WordPress since run after the config test, after step 4. Oh, I need to change this. That says WordPress. So I need to swap that from WordPress and WordPress to HTML and HTML. So I will do that right after I'm done. Take a screenshot of your salt. Take a screenshot after you've put all your salt in. And then once you go to your URL, take a screenshot. Or not yet. I'm sorry. Go to your URL, make a post, and then take a screenshot. And that's it. So I will fix that real quick. Dun, 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 dun. HTML. Dun, 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 HTML. All right. So those of you that went the WordPress route, doing that virtual host, and you'll need to pay attention and make sure. So really, if you did it without doing the virtual host in the last lab, then you'll need to pay special attention here. If you did do the virtual host, then you'll do step 4 here. Or no, not step 4. What step was it? Step 3 maybe? Yeah, step 3. All right. Anyway, I think most people did it without the virtual host, so just pay attention to me during the meat of that video, and it will work. Okay. That's it. That's all there is to it. I say that. It was quite a bit, but just follow along. Slow it down. Replay it, and you'll be okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen. That's pretty much it. As always in my classes, next week it's going to be a final. And that final is just going to contain stuff that you've already done. So your final review is on the Linux side. Yep, pre-apologies now. On the Linux side, review the labs that we have done so far. That's pretty much it. Okay. Be ready for that. Ask questions. If there are things that you didn't understand during the semester, make sure you ask those questions this week. And if there were assignments that you halfway finished or something like that, finish them and submit them. But that'll do.